present it. He
There
wouldn't
goes
present
the
my one
change.
for the housing
Yep.
commission, so why would he do it?
Okay. It is Monday, we're meeting on Monday, December 16th instead of Wednesday because of the festivities at the senior center. I'll call the meeting to order and, ask for you to review the agenda. Do you have one? Are there any additions, or changes to the agenda?
I didn't get an agenda.
You didn't want those agendas, James.
Sorry.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so, I'll move the adoption of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have an approved agenda. So also, Deb passed out the minutes from our last meeting. Just take a minute and, review those, please. Any additions or changes to the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are adopted. Thank you very much, Deb. We're gonna skip the treasurer's report, and our public isn't here today. Start with old business. First, I'd like to say, we have 3 members of the board who are expired, whose terms have expired. Ben, Jean, and Dennis. So I'd like to thank them for their service. Dennis has been here the longest of all of us, had you believe, and has served the role as treasurer very well in the past. And I greatly appreciate your service, Dennis.
Thank you, Judy.
And do wish you would consider
Yes.
re-upping, but I know that's a personal decision on your part, and I appreciate that. Jean has served for several years now, and her term has expired, and she is reapplying.
I did, and I did send Ryan an email, and he said, because the one board meeting was going to be canceled, and he said there is another board meeting
In December.
in December that they will discuss the appointments on the committees.
Oh, good, so it should be before the end of the year, which is
Correct.
great.
They haven't decided a date yet.
And the other person who is term expired is Ben. And when I spoke to him yesterday about it, he said he hadn't really decided whether or not he wanted to re-up. But if Ben does not re-up, and Dennis does not re-up, that means that we have 3 vacancies because Helen Murphy was on the board and passed away and she was never replaced. So if you know anyone at the senior center or in the Bath community who would be interested in being on the Senior Services Advisory Board, please let us know and we can get an application to them.
Do they need to be a Bath resident?
Yes, ma'am. We have our new recreation coordinator with us this morning. I'm so pleased with the fact that James has joined us. And I'll just let him tell us a little bit about his background and how excited he is to be here in our township.
Yeah, I'm totally excited to be here. I grew up in Lansing Parks and Rec, Jeanette Community Center in my neighborhood as a youth, and started working there when I was 16 years old. I stayed there until I went off to college at Michigan State for Parks and Rec tourism, and then I started working in Boys and Girls Club. I moved to Adrian, Michigan, and started up a Boys and Girls Club in 2001 there. I was there for 16 years, and then I transferred over to Adrian Parks and Rec, where I ran their youth and adult sports and special events and all that good stuff. COVID hit, so I was going to be laid off, and I had the opportunity to move to Grand Rapids to start up a Boys and Girls Club in that community. And while I was there, I was promoted to area director, where I oversaw 4 Boys and Girls Clubs. I moved back to Lansing, but I was commuting back and forth. that came a bit much, so I was looking to work closer to home, where I live now in Lansing, and now I'm here at Bath Township and excited about being the new recreation coordinator and working with you all to make the senior center as best as we can make it. Thank you.
So much. Have you been to the senior center yet?
I have not. I will be over there this week.
Go on Wednesday, we're having
Wednesday.
our Christmas party.
Yes.
Let's all be there.
Bring a $10 gift wrapped and you can be part of the exchange. I will warn you that Wednesday we're having meatloaf and there's
good.
no
Room if you're late.
meal.
Yeah, if you're not early, I should
There's
say it
no
that way,
meal
if you're
that's
not
more
early.
popular, so you want a seat, come early. But we'd love to have you, and it'll be a really nice time, and you could meet everybody then, that'd be great. Jean is now our subcommittee, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our subcommittee chair for grant writing, and she went to a workshop for us at the Capital Region Community Foundation. She learned a lot of really great, powerful information from them. And then we had a grant subcommittee meeting, and so, Jean, I'm just gonna let you talk a little bit about what we've been going through so far.
Well, I didn't bring my notes from that meeting, but you're right, we had a meeting on December 12th, and we were each given responsibility, and we are going to meet again on January 14th at 10 o'clock.
Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna look at is the Capital Region Community Foundation grant. That's what we used when we expanded the kitchen, got a commercial kitchen, handicapper bathrooms, and the deck out back. So Jean is gonna look at when those are due, I think it's April, and what the amount is and what the match that we'd have to come up with so we can see whether we can fit in their guidelines. They are very interested in coming here. They are very interested in our work. They would like to be re-invited to lunch with an invitation from the administration. And then we also looked at, oh, hello, Ben.
Ben.
Thank you so much.
I took care of my promise.
Thank you.
I told Shirley I would take her home.
That's right, I forgot.
Judy, can you tell me again the name of,
Capital Region Community Foundation.
thank you.
They are the foundation that funded the kitchen expansion and the handicapper bathrooms. And that was about 10 years ago. And I've spoken to them about how much we've grown since then. And like I said, they're very interested in coming to lunch. They would like that invitation to come from the administration, because that's ultimately, even though we might write the application, that is where the application would come from. And they, of course, are interested to see that the administration is interested in the work that we're applying for. So that makes sense.
So could Cheryl put out that invitation, or who would put out that invitation?
I think that a trustee could apply, I think that a trustee could invite them to lunch, the program officer, and Cheryl and I will talk about that, but, at the same time, Karen and Taylor should know that we're doing that.
Right.
And come to lunch if they can that day.
And then Joan is going to look into other grants.
Yep, Joan has state and federal grants that we've asked her to look at that are targeted towards senior centers. We did some research and came up with some targeted grants to apply for that are targeted towards senior centers. So she's going to do that. And Nancy's going to help us with parking. And I just, we're going to talk about parking now. I guess I looked to see if it's on the agenda someplace else.
Under new business. Hey.
Parking feasibility on
In order to really move forward, the one thing that always stops us, has always stopped us in the past with expansion or an addition is the question of parking. So 3 times I've appeared before the trustees in the last 6 weeks and asked them to put in the 2025 budget money to pay for a parking feasibility study for the township, for the senior center. that would require hiring an engineering firm, but primarily we need a surveyor. The surveyor will survey the land. He'll identify areas where parking is possible, identify how many spots we could have based on the legal requirements for the size of the parking places. And then he will tell us how much it would cost us to get that parking in place.
So is that the same as what Nancy's looking
Nancy's doing
at?
that, yep.
Nancy's doing that.
Yep, and I've given her a whole folder, a file on parking. It shows, outlines. It has drawings in there of how many, what the parking lot looks like now, how many places we'll need, how many places we have, how many places we'll need. And then it makes a projection, the information that she has, on the number of places we'd need if we went for an expansion or an addition. And all the plat work is in that folder. All the information that we need to take to either an engineer or a survey, or she has that information to help with that process, so it won't be so expensive. And also, I was told by Matt, our architect from before, that we should expect that would cost about $1,500. Again, it's the first thing that we need. And I would ask, and we can vote on this in January, but I would ask the Senior Services Advisory Board to consider whether or not that might not be the first thing we spend some of the money that we've raised on. If we can't get the township board to budget $1,500 for that parking survey feasibility study, and we have to have it, maybe that's the first thing that we spend a little money on of the money that we've raised, so we can move forward and with confidence. If it's determined that we have no parking available, additional parking, or we can't get the 22 places that we might need for an expansion, or the 9 places that we would need for an addition, then we shouldn't be looking at grants and wasting our time.
Right.
Unless we go for a big building, a new building. So this will be the answer, the information that we need that determines how we move forward.
So how long does it take to get that will we have that information by the 14th when the grant committee meets, before our next meeting on the 15th?
I don't know, it depends on the township board, really. I mean, it's,
Well, but we need the information to give them.
what?
We need the information that Nancy's getting.
No, we don't. I'm gonna ask them one more time to fund a parking feasibility study.
Right. But don't we have to give them a figure?
Who?
The board.
Can we fund it on our own and just to heck with the board?
Well, that's what I said. The next time we come together as a group, as a committee, if the township board has not moved on it, then we have to be prepared to move on it.
But what are we asking the township board? Don't we need to give them a figure?
Who's him?
The board.
She mentioned 1,500,
Nancy hasn't gotten that information yet.
but didn't Judy got that?
That's what the architect told me. It should cost about $1,500 to do that feasibility study.
Well, then, what is Nancy getting
She's trying to find an architect or a surveyor who will do that work for us.
for $1,500?
Well, what would it cost if he's not, yeah, whatever.
There's nothing
I
to
think-
stop us from saying, we're asking the board if they will pay for that. This is an estimate that we've heard. It's not a bid. We ask that they consider spending up to that. In addition, if it costs more than that, we could take those funds out of the funds that were raised. I mean, that's how it could be presented,
Right.
so.
There's nothing to stop the committee from continuing to work, to look at what is available, what is the potential, whether we have to go for an expansion, an addition, or a new build. What money's out there? Where,
It just feels like we're getting the cart before the horse. Nancy doesn't have the information yet on what the current cost is gonna be. We may have an estimate from somebody from a few months ago, but what's the current cost going to be? We could, like Deb said, ask the board to fund up to $1,500 and then take any balance out of the funds that we've raised. We could word it that way.
I think they'd be more,
Accurate.
well, not even
Or-
just more accurate, they might be more receptive if they think there's a max, on it. Because we do hear a lot, we get the cart before the horse, and I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But we seem to be in this vicious cycle where there's never a way to put the cart behind the horse. There's never a way to do it, because they won't listen, they won't respond, they won't even professionally communicate with us. And so we're just stuck. We can never do anything. We can't move forward. If we say, will you pay for this? Well, they'll say, well, we don't know how much it'll be.
How
If
much
we-
is it?
And then if we say, well, it's this much, they'll say, well, you don't have the legal right to talk to anybody, even ask questions. And we've had to have that argument too, as you may remember. And I think Ryan made jokes about it, like, we're not gonna call the police necessarily, but, and we're like, anyone can get an estimate. We're not acting on their behalf, asking for bids. We're not commissioning work to be done. We're asking for an estimate. It's America. We can do that. But we still seem to get this resistance, acting like we're overstepping. But like you said, if we don't have the information, they're not gonna move anyway. So I feel like our hands are constantly being tied, and we have to be creative to
So
figure out
should-
how to get them to even hear us. It's a shame. It's just a,
Can Cheryl ask that it be on the agenda to ask them to approve $1,500 toward the cost, and the rest would be taken out of our funds?
You don't even need to say the rest, I mean,
The
the
balance.
15,
If it's more.
we
if
just
it's more.
estimated it'd be, and we can find out by the next meeting what it would cost, but
But do we want to go to the Board of Trustees before our next meeting?
well, I think we have to.
You have to keep plugging away at it. It's like,
I mean, if we want a conversation, then we have to be under committee reports.
Okay,
If we don't want a conversation, we can just do it public comment. But it's much better if we're under committee reports.
do you think we should have a vote now, though, to propose it in that way, and that we would, as a board, support the, if additional funds were needed for it to come from that source? Do you think we should have that vote today, as opposed to
I
next
don't
month?
see why it would hurt anything.
Yeah, I don't know that it would hurt. What do you think, Judy?
No, that's fine.
Do you want me to propose?
Sure, make a motion.
make a motion.
I hereby make a motion that we propose to the Board of Trustees that they assist in funding for a parking feasibility study for the senior center, and that we request they be willing to fund up to $1,500, and if the costs exceed that, that it would be, we would give full support for any additional possible funds to be taken from the funds that have been raised by the Senior Citizens Advisory Board over the last 10 years,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
for that very wordy.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, thank you. And Cheryl, can you get us on the agenda? When
I
is
will try.
When is
Sometimes I get ignored.
when is the next meeting?
That's being decided, as the last I read, is there's 2 dates, one right before and one right after Christmas. And they're looking at people's schedules, which I don't know what my schedule is either. So I don't know. It's on, hang on, I'll look it up while you're going.
So the Monday before Christmas, I won't be here, that's the 23rd. The Monday after Christmas is the 30th, I would be here that day.
Let me look and see what they.
But I don't think they'll do it on the 23rd. It's always the 1st and the 3rd.
They were asking for input, and it was like, it's so, nobody knows their schedule, so it's.
So it should have been today. the third, it's always the first and the third Monday.
Right, it's supposed to be today, that was canceled. So,
All right, so you'll find that out and let us know. All right, I see we skipped that. Okay, 2025 budget changes. I did see online this morning, on the senior center website, that lunches in January will go to $5. I don't know, Jean, you're there almost daily, I mean, when we're open, has anyone from the administration been in to tell the seniors that?
Yeah, Judy has mentioned that. Also, we
Judy?
asked today, not Judy, Linda. Linda has addressed that. And we also asked Linda today, a couple of us, if we could purchase punch cards, if there was a limit on how many punch cards we could purchase in December at the $4 rate, and she said, no, there is no limit. So you can purchase however many punch cards you want to buy in December at $4 a lunch.
Great idea.
And how many punches are on a card?
12.
5?
There,
12.
There used
Not on
to
a
be, there isn't
card.
12 anymore.
there are 4 on a card, right?
It's either 3 or 4.
That could be you get 3 cards, but you pay $48 and you get 12 punches.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if you can buy any less than that or not.
Also, the website did say today that the senior center will only be open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. There was no discussion about cards on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Nancy, has anyone spoken to you officially about that?
No, not officially, no. I've had lots of questions from our
Right,
patrons, but no, nothing official. So
Theo?
I'm telling everybody, you know, what I've heard is that we will be able to play Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's just closed to the general public on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's what I tell them, because I don't know anything different.
so people can't come in if they want to. The BOT meeting is being discussed 26th or 27th.
I didn't hear you.
26th and 27th is what is being discussed for the next BOT meeting.
26th and 27th.
Uh-huh,
The 26th is
Thursday and Friday.
Thursday and Friday. That doesn't make any sense. You always meet on Mondays.
Well, was canceled, so this is the replacement meeting. That's what the email says, just so you know.
And my email just said a special meeting will be scheduled. It didn't say, I looked, it doesn't say a
Yeah, I got the
date.
dates. Since I'm supposed
Well,
to,
we might have to just do it the first regular meeting in January,
Right.
which would be the first Monday in January.
well, I can always put it on, as soon as they decide on a meeting, I can put it on that agenda.
Well, not
I'm-
if-
I'm
not-
worried they're gonna have, I mean, some people don't know, I could be out of town.
Right, not if, like, one of us would have to be speaking and giving a report if we were under committee reports. And I don't know if any of you want to do that, because I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving on Friday and I won't be back until
Friday
the following Saturday. I'm leaving this week on Friday
okay.
and won't be back till the following
And their
Saturday.
next meeting is January 6th.
Yeah, it would probably be, that's right. I mean, as far as I know, that's not canceled.
So we need to find out officially from the township. James, you could help us with this.
Yes?
On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have big card games in the afternoon. Start around noon, play till 4, 25, 30 people. And the budget closes the senior center on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We've been told, even in a public board meeting, that there's no objection to their playing cards on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
But don't they rent the
But
center?
they have to pay $1 each to do so.
Yeah, it's like rented.
But every player has to pay $1 for building usage.
And then no other people can come in, is that what I
But
get?
we don't know that. But so the question is that the case? No one has told us, the card players or any of us, what the deal is, but we need to know. Because we got 50 people coming every week, right, who play cards.
From what I know, as what you all said, is that the center would be open on Tuesday and Thursday for the card players for a small fee.
Every player is supposed to pay $1 for building usage. So is that what you're hearing?
That's what I thought. I watched the board of trustees last meeting, and that's what was said.
That's what they discussed, but how does their discussion get into reality? I'm just wondering if you could check with the administration and let Nancy know, she's the leader. What,
Yeah, I definitely will check and see where we're at on that and let you know.
Thank you.
maybe after the meeting, you could give him your contact information, Nancy, so he can reach out to you.
Okay.
That'd be very helpful. That's why we really need someone from the administration here, you know, because little things like this come up and we don't know how to get the information.
So you're looking for the logistics of Tuesday and Thursday, how that's gonna work.
Yeah, who would they pay,
Well,
for one thing?
And the
You're gonna pay me
key,
And I'm gonna pay up
Key,
here.
and I've got a
At the
key.
end of the
They,
day,
they pay you and you pay up here.
yeah, at the end of the day, I'm bringing money up here.
Well, and-
So they,
and you guys, when the weather's
they
dropping
trust
this week-
you to count the people.
Well, the people sign in.
To where? To whom?
To
I
the-
just think it's
To Nancy.
interesting. I
They
just
sign
think
a
it's
list
interesting that
when
they're
they come in.
requiring $1, but there's no staff that's willing to collect the $1.
Don't make waves, honey, because we're lucky to have it.
I'm not, well, see, the thing that bothers me though, as anyone who was at that meeting knows, there's no reason for this.
There's what?
There's no reason to be closed on Tuesdays
Well,
and
and the-
Thursdays. They said the reason is because they don't want to pay staff. But any staff employee could just work out of that office that day. There could have been a compromise. They could have said, we're going to be open just 4 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays and have someone over there working out of that office. Because people work out of their homes. And the argument made was, well, no, matter of fact, it was about James. They said, well, James isn't a full-time employee of the senior center. Well, that's not relevant. No one's asking him to be a full-time
And
employee of the senior center. But what's to hinder him from just working out of that office so that there's a human being that's responsible to unlock the door and lock it up at the end of the day? Someone just to be there. They're already paying his salary. What about having Taylor be there?
or any of us that are paid anything by the township are considered employees. I am.
Yeah, it wouldn't
We all
cost
are.
the township a penny. So to say that this was needed for budget concerns is, I'm sorry, I don't find that to be a valid argument whatsoever. I don't find it truthful.
What are they
I'm sorry.
saving?
Well,
The
and the
lights
other-
are still on, the
Yeah,
heat is
heat's
still
still
on, and there is no other expense. It's just lights and heat. And if they let them come in and play cards, the lights and heat are still gonna be on.
That is correct.
And what's a problem?
And if they're
to-
paying the employee anyway, but they're just, are working out of that office,
You could
and-
work from home, couldn't you?
I think for, moving forward in the future, and looking at 2025 and what's gonna be in my plate, I think the consistency is what would make that more difficult. For instance, I'm in a training for our annual conference in March. I have another training in January. So I think the consistency could be a problem in closing, on days that people are expecting to be there. They have a big tournament planned on that Thursday, and I'm at a training, so now we have to close down a building. I think with the dollar fee and having, the building open to those that want to be there, I think not tying someone there keeps that consistency, and they're kind of running their own program.
but if the seniors were an important concern of the town, that's just a scheduling thing. The times you can be there, you can be there. Other people could be assigned to that task. It doesn't cost a cent. The concern was cost. And, we've got seniors that during COVID, their lives were turned upside down, and all these concessions and money has been thrown at people who suffered and struggled during COVID, except our seniors.
Well,
Do we-
the thing that bothers me too is the attitude that if it's too cold or too hot, our building is air-conditioned and heated, and when we had that smog, and we shut for 9 days to clean the floors. Shut the building to everyone. Food, no heat, no air, no clean air. And that, to me, I was gonna go open it with my own key and invite everybody.
Do we have statistics on how many really use the senior center on Tuesday and Thursday?
Well, Karen stated that not many do, but That's because there are no activities.
Well,
And we, I mean, I'm sorry, so it's like, again, it's the cart before the horse. We propose all these activities, all these ideas, and they refuse to incorporate them, and then they say, well, no one comes. Well,
let's just
you've
focus.
created that situation, and now you want to use that situation as your argument against making it open to people.
Well, maybe we
It's a
should
very,
just focus on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and try and get activities scheduled on those days in the afternoon, and just not fight this Tuesday, Thursday, you know, let them play their cards or whatever they do, and start scheduling you know, support scheduling activities on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And
lunch?
I know they're having a movie today. They're doing a movie today. And I know I've been over there on Tuesday and Thursday, and there really aren't that many people that come on Tuesday and Thursday.
In the morning, that's because there's nothing planned.
Right.
You know, if we had activities planned, you know, healthy activities, whether it's chair yoga, sit and be fit, nutrition for one, it doesn't matter. On Tuesday and Thursday mornings, people would be there. People
But we
would come
need
for those
somebody to
programs.
coordinate that, and we haven't had that.
Well, now we have a
Now we have James.
Now we have a coordinator, that's his
Yeah,
job.
I just need time to get my stuff in
Right, well,
place,
you're
and
getting
we'll
your,
be-
this
we'll-
is what we've been running up against, I guess that's what you're hearing is, this is long going, and it's not only this committee, but I can tell you it is all the committees that I hear the same frustration of communication,
follow through.
follow through, getting things done, we're on the same subjects.
Cooperation.
For Park Lake Road,
Advisory board.
the trail has been going for 15 years, and it's like, we can't take this step because we haven't done this one. And it's always a quagmire. And I'm new here on the board, but that's what I see, and I see it from, and the rec committee, everybody has this frustration.
Dennis?
I wanted to mention that when I first started going to the senior center, and Dana and Nancy were the ones in charge, cooking and everything, it was only open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but on Tuesday and Thursday, they scheduled activities, trips and stuff like that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it wasn't anything where, I mean, we had to come to the senior center just to get packed in the cars and stuff, but I can see that even if it's only open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we can still do things on Tuesday and Thursday. And maybe, I don't know if our coordinator, if James has to be the one to schedule those things, or whether we can give him suggestions.
Well, we have had that conversation, and Dana was a little discouraged about that, because here she is organizing these trips and things that the people love to take, and that it cannot be, it's not officially sanctioned by the township because of liability issues, but they're not willing to do it either.
And
So,
they've told us that we are not to do it.
yeah, unless you make it very clear, this is y'all, and it's not the township. And so, here, you know, here we are, we've got staff that's paid, and we're having to do the work,
We have patrons that would love to go do something.
yeah.
no recognition.
Well, let's
So-
just give James a chance to get his feet wet and get into the job, and then see what he can propose on Tuesday and Thursday.
I think trips is a great idea. I think that's what you were saying, Dennis. We could
Yeah.
always pick up there, whether it's a bus or whatever. I brought a newsletter down from Crawford County. This is a county senior center. And in it, they have a trip survey. They take 5 trips a year. So here's a whole list of places where they could, willing to take their seniors, and they put it in their newspaper. Pick 5. We'll take the 5 top ones, and that's where we'll go. So, can we take trips? How many should we do? 2 a year? Where would they like to go? Let's do a survey. Is it a Tiger game? Is it, you know, whatever? So, I think once James gets his feet on the ground and, we have the opportunity to work cooperatively with him, I think we'll get the ball rolling. We just have to be a little patient a little longer. All right, so, filling the vacancies again, Ben, you weren't here, but I thanked you for your service. It's been great to have you on our board. you, Jean, and Dennis, your terms are up. Jean is reapplying. You have that opportunity. Dennis as well, but Dennis is spending his time on other issues right now, so he's not going to reapply. So we have 3 vacancies if you don't reapply. So if you know anyone over there. You did?
You did? All right.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
So
So
2.
now we have 2 vacancies. If you know anyone over at the senior center or from the Bath Township who would like to serve, we'd love to have their
Can we make an
application.
announcement Wednesday when there's so many people there that we would like?
Sure, 2 openings. They
Let's
have to
do
be
that.
Bath Township residents.
Okay, let's do that.
I see under new business, we're going to talk about the parking feasibility study, which we already did. Programs, activities, and services. Like I said, I brought down this, I thought the last meeting that we had just a great discussion about activities and programs and services and, but again, I brought this newspaper down from Crawford County. I often give the menu to the girls in the kitchen, you know, just so they can see what other centers are doing that have a full-service kitchen. And I will share that with them. But here's an example of activities that are done at senior centers around the state. And I'm just going to share that with James so that he gets an idea of the kinds of partnerships and collaborations that we can develop to bring us programs and services. Tri-County Office on Aging has fantastic programs. MSU Extension has fantastic programs. And they're not the only ones, so we're just going to give this activities page to James, and he can get an idea of what some other senior centers are doing in the area.
And in the past, we have done quite a bit of things with the MSU Extension. They've come here and had classes for us, and,
The diabetes education,
yep,
the PATH program, Path to Success,
cooking,
cooking, yep, Cooking for One, I think,
yep.
came from there as well.
I do have a list of partnerships, and MSU Extension is one.
Great.
That I'm
Perfect.
contacting.
Great.
And working with Meridian Township, their senior center in Lansing Parks and Rec. I'm gonna go visit there and meet with their coordinators too. And I have a whole list of things. I did notice unlike Meridian and Lansing is they charge from some of their classes, like Tai Chi for prevention of falling and their chair yoga and their classes. They have a small fee there, and I wanna kinda look at that and see, is that something that we want to stay away from, or is that something that we could?
We've had a chair yoga instructor at the senior center off and on for a few years now, and she just puts a hat out, and if you want to make a contribution to her, you can. She doesn't charge, but
Yeah, so for me, it's finding those instructors that will be like, I did look up, I know April was a instructor. I've been going through files and looking at old activities and things like that, but just finding the right instructor that will come and do it for that donation fee or do it for volunteerism or whatnot. So kind of digging into all that and figuring things out. But I think moving forward, we're going to be in a good spot, especially working together and you know, doing what's best for the seniors. So I'm all up for it. Of course, there's some things that, you know, that are above mine that, you know, I can't control. And
we have a fantastic line dancing class at the community center every Tuesday, I think it is. I don't remember, is it Tuesday? Yeah, and it would be great to just bring them over as part of our entertainment, you know, during a lunch hour or something, you know? And it just gives them such a sense of pride to come in and dance for others, you know, who appreciate it.
They've done that before.
I've had them out down at the park for the summer solstice event, yeah. So we're happy to have you here, James, and we'll be happy to sit down individually or collectively or just have a whole meeting just on programs and activities and services, and that'd just be great. I think that we should invite the Board of Trustees to lunch. Nancy suggests that we have lunch tickets made, that perhaps we could give each of the trustees a lunch ticket, and they could come to lunch whenever they could come to lunch, or that we are assigned a trustee to invite to lunch, you know, like Gene, you could call Ryan and see if there's ever a time he could come to lunch, or I could call Kate and see if there's any time she could come to lunch, and Nancy, you could call Ray Kutke, who lives in our neighborhood, and see if he could come to lunch sometime. So I think that we should think seriously about that, decide whether it's a ticket or a personal invitation, and that ought to be something that we do in the new year. So we'll put that on our continuing discussion list.
Many older members have never been to lunch, I believe. Is it not true?
I know that Jennifer and Brenda eat from the kitchen. I know that they have their food brought across the street. I don't know that they've ever eaten in the dining room. Al used to be one you couldn't take out of the dining room. I mean, he would either
regular.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, you know, but he's dealing with some health issues right now and still trying to do some part-time work. So, but yeah, I mean,
So if we were to give the trustees a punch card with one punch on it, how many trustees are there?
7,
Okay.
Kate, I got to come once.
right? So, again, as it says on here, it's just a way for us to get to know them and them to get to know us. And the more they know us, the better off we are. You know, the senior center. That's what I mean by us, so. Okay, so this is the last one. We've talked about this before in the meeting already, is having the Senior Services Advisory Board committee make a report to the Board of Trustees. We've done an incredible amount of work in the last 2 years, and I don't think there's anything wrong with providing a summary to the board about our work and about moving forward and how they want to help us. So
As a
I
committee,
think it's important that we do that.
do it as a committee report so you don't get shut off at 3 minutes.
So do you have anything that you want to report from the Board of Trustees?
No, just that I will do this.
Speak
ask
up.
for- I will ask for the approval of the $1,500 fund for the parking feasibility study. I'll see if I can get that.
And
on
that would
this.
probably be at the meeting on January 6th?
Well, why couldn't I put it through on the 26th and 27th meeting, whatever that is?
Okay.
I'll try.
Try and get on the
And
agenda.
sometimes I send an email out to everyone that's on the board, and Karen and everybody, and the meeting comes and it's not on the agenda. So I can try,
Try in December and,
yeah, and then
You can
do it
also,
again.
you can also amend the agenda, just like you
Yes,
could have at the
yep.
beginning of a meeting.
Yep,
You've done
yep.
that before.
Yep, so I can try, I'll do both.
No public comment. So, again, I'll thank not only those who are leaving and terms have expired, but those of us who've served all year. It's been a great year. It's been frustrating, but well worth the time. I know that the trustees are talking about having a strategic planning meeting, which would be very helpful for us to be a part of, so we can talk about the issues that are facing our seniors. 27% of our population is now over the age of 55. We certainly are not prepared to serve them in our beautiful little building across the street, across the parking lot. But we need to be planning for the future. We, as a township, need to be planning for the future. We need to be talking about senior housing, affordable housing, services for seniors. And I know that Ryan says, well, we just want you to go out and talk to seniors about programs and services, but it's hard to do that when the building is so small and there's no place for them to sit. So, again, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we will continue to have a Senior Services Advisory Board in the future. I know Ryan has also talked about eliminating citizen boards and citizen input into the township process, so hopefully he doesn't do that. Call for adjournment?
do we want to continue with the calendar that I've been putting up over at the senior center, or discontinue that?
I think it's helpful, but I don't know how other people feel about it. Do you find people looking at it, Jean? Commenting to you about it?
I haven't heard any comments about it, no. But I think that when they are going to have a special activity and say that you can't play cards on that day, I think that needs to be on the calendar each month. If it's going to be closed, the card players were surprised one Friday when it was closed to card playing, and people had come from St. John's to play cards. It wasn't on the calendar that it was closed. They had made an announcement, but for people that aren't there, they don't get that announcement. So there was a confrontation, and it was agreed they could continue. And then when they had the lunch last Friday, they just didn't play cards because they had made the announcement, but again, it wasn't on the calendar. If they're going to have a special event that it requires them to put 10 tables in that dining room and they want to cancel cards, it needs to be on their monthly calendar. You know, I will continue as long as I can doing the calendars on the board.
After the last meeting, we did make some suggestions like that did appear on they didn't all appear, but on the calendar. I think that the lunch for the Legion said
Sign up.
reservation required, sign up required.
Right.
So
That
there
was
were.
another thing.
Beg your pardon?
That was another thing, was the sign up for the luncheon should need to be on the calendar.
Right.
And that
so-
one was.
Right. So they did make some changes. We just have to stay on top of it. Happy holidays. See you next year. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks, James.
Thank you. Thank you all. Nice to